Breonna Taylor, a black 26-year-old emergency room technician, was killed when 3 white police officers entered her apartment in the early hours of March 13th, 2020. The topic today, the killing of Breonna Taylor.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother. Welcome to the most listened to international podcast around the world. Hakeem and Reggie Brown are 2 young African-American boys speaking the truth. This is Pop City Culture.
Hey. This is Reggie, and this is Pop City Culture. That's right. We're going to have a good conversation today because there's some stuff going down that, yo, man, it's just unbelievable. I can't believe this stuff is still happening. How about you, Hakeem?
No, I really can't. I mean, you would think after the George Floyd incident, people would become socially aware of what's going on in the world.
I know, right?
But yet, still, tragedy in the African-American community is still happening, unfortunately.
That's right, man. So, we're going to be talking about the killing of Breonna Taylor. And, you going to get into that, Hakeem?
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us again here on Pop City Culture.
Yeah, thank you.
We are going strong, and we're glad we have a lot of listeners who enjoy the talk we talk. So, Breonna Taylor was a 26-year-old black woman, and she was fatally shot by white Louisville Metro Police Department Officer John Mattingly, Brent Hankinson, and Miles Cosgrove on March 13th, 2020. Now, the officers entered her apartment in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yo, Kentucky, right?
Yeah, Reggie. That's what I said, Louisville, Kentucky. You see, they were executing a search warrant. Now, this was a no-knock search warrant that they were serving. Now, according to them, they knocked before forcing entry. Whether and how they announced themselves before forcing entry is being disputed by Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. He thought that the intruders, were burglars.
No doubt.
And
yeah,
the intruders, I don't know, there's just some confusion there.
Man, that's a shame.
Whether or not there were warning shots, but according to officials, one of the bullets hit Mattingly in the leg. The officers fired 32 shots in return.
32 shots, man, that is more than a little bit excessive. That's just unbelievable.
And Walker was unhurt, but Taylor was hit by 6 bullets in the hallway inside her apartment and died.
Oh, man, you gotta be kidding me. Now, this is what I don't get. You were saying it's a no-knock warrant?
Yeah.
Man, I just don't get it. What does that even mean? Can you tell me?
Yeah, a no-knock warrant means you don't have to knock. Apparently, you can just barge right into the apartment.
So these officers, they just barged right in the middle of the day?
No, now that's the thing, Reggie. This was like in the middle of the night. So, now first of all, I guess, according to them, there was a witness, maybe a neighbor or something, and they said they heard the officers say who they were.
Yeah, if that's even true.
But, you can knock on the front door and say who you are. But if you're in bed sleeping...
Yeah, and the part of the house too, right?
How are you really supposed to answer that?
Yo, Hakeem, this is what I don't get. You said they came in the middle of the night. In the ghetto... I'm telling you, that's just plain stupid. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you why. Because when you live in the ghetto, if somebody knocks your door down, I don't care if they say they're the cops or not. In the middle of the night, you be worried about answering that door. You could be getting robbed or looted or something, And you were saying that the guy had a gun?
Yeah, but, he was...
I mean the boyfriend, right?
He had a license for the gun, the boyfriend. So he legally was in his right to have that gun. So I do want to make it clear, the gun wasn't illegal. Obviously, if you get a permit for a gun, you're a law-abiding citizen.
At least you're supposed to be.
Yeah, you're investigated by the FBI because they don't want criminals having guns. So yeah,
Man, I just don't get it, man. How stupid is that, though, Hakeem, to be breaking down somebody's door in the middle of the night in the ghetto? Dude, it's scary to live in the ghetto in the first place. But if somebody just comes in and knocks your door down, you're going to be grabbing for a knife or something because you got to defend yourself because you just don't know who's on the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Reggie. I know exactly what you're saying. So, the police department fired Hankinson on June 23rd, 2020.
Ain't gonna miss that, dude.
For blindingly firing through the covered patio door and window of Taylor's apartment, according to the police chief, Robert Schroeder. On September 15th, the city of Louisville agreed to pay Taylor's family $12 million and reform police practices.
Yo, man, is that all somebody's life is worth? $12 million? Man, you take a life, you can't be getting that life back. That's stupid. That's sort of sick, man. That's like paying somebody off for like doing something bad, dude. Man, $12 million. Is that what my life is worth? Hakeem, if something were to happen to me, would my life be worth $12 million?
No, Reggie, obviously. You can't put a price on life. That's just obvious.
I know, man, but that's what I'm saying. Just listening to that. You just read that $12 million and police reform. Shoot, man, they should have had that with police reform already in practice. Are you telling me since the George Floyd thing went on, now all of a sudden they want to do police reform? Huh?
Well, Reggie, you do sort of make a point.
I know I make a point.
You would think that after the George Floyd incident where the officer put his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck and that resulted in his death.
It was murder, if you ask me.
That police departments everywhere, and I mean everywhere, would have been doing some kind of reform or looking at that incident and saying, we don't ever want this to happen in our backyard. That's really, man, you really make a good point, Reggie.
I know I do.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yo, man, well, you should be thinking about it because, that's just dumb, man. That's just dumb. 12 million and we're gonna reform that police department like that's some big thing. Man, that stuff should have been in place. And you know what? Here's the thing. If it was in place and they still didn't do it, then I don't know what to say after that. You got to reform the police department or something. But this is just ridiculous to even throw that in there.
Well, you do have a point there, brother.
That's like throwing breadcrumbs to a little bird. Here you go, little animal. Here's some crumbs. We're going to throw this at you.
Yeah. I can't argue there. Can't argue with that, brother. So on September 23rd, a state grand jury indicted Hankinson, but not for Taylor's death.
Say what?
But on 3 counts of wanton endangerment for endangering a neighbor with his shots.
I'm gonna have to be honest. That sort of gets me. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, that's right. That sort of gets me too, because you would think it would be because of Taylor's death. I mean, that's the whole point. Everybody wanted some justice for her death because
speaking the truth, man. Just speaking it.
Reggie, just to bust in somebody's house. I guess there were 12 places that the warrant said they could go, and that was one of them.
Well, why was there 12?
Well, from what I understand, they were looking for another guy. I don't have his name here, but it was Breonna Taylor's old boyfriend. I guess he was using her address as a place of residence, and that's why the police were there. So, according to the police, some packages in January came out of that apartment or were sent there. So that's why it, that was listed on the no-knock warrant. And unfortunately, everything resulted in this. But let's get something clear. She wasn't dating the older boyfriend. This was a new boyfriend who was in the house with her where this unfortunate situation happened. So, there were 3 counts of wanton endangerment and endangering a neighbor with his shots. The two other officers involved in the raid were not indicted.
Now that don't make no sense. I just don't get that. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get that either. That doesn't, I would think all three of them, because how you gonna know? I don't know. I guess there are things that the grand jury hears, but we don't hear, and maybe there's some more evidence or something. I don't know.
Yo, man, I don't know how there can be more evidence. I mean, it looks like it's just clear, man. Shots were fired and all three of them were there. What is this? Oh, man. I hope this ain't I'm gonna defend my blue brother kind of crap, because I'm getting real tired of hearing stuff like that. That's why there's so many bad cops out there, because, other cops protect those cops. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. And, like we said before, when good cops protect the bad cops, then they're just as bad.
I would say even worse.
But we don't, it's sort of hard because we weren't there, Reggie. You have to understand this. You and I, we were not there.
I know that. You ain't got to tell me.
We don't know exactly, step by step, what transpired. So, this is one of the really big things that is a problem, because now you're getting information from a whole bunch of different places.
Yo, man, but you still got the basic facts, man. She's dead. She got shot. And, the indictment wasn't for Taylor's death. It was for, blindingly firing through covered patio doors and windows of Taylor's apartment. That just...
Well, what I said was, they were, let me see. Let me get... Hold on a second. Let me go back to the papers. A state grand jury indicted Hankinson not for Taylor's death, but on 3 counts of wanton endangerment for endangering a neighbor with his shots. So yeah, that was what I said. So, just days after the grand jury issued the no charge against Louisville officers who fatally shot Breonna Taylor, evidence from the case leaked out on social media and digital news sites, raising questions about the investigation in her death.
Well, what kind of stuff are you talking about?
Well, there was video footage reviewed by the Courier Journal appearing to be from one of the body cams worn by the Louisville Metro Police officer Taylor's apartment in March. It shows potential violations of policies that were designed to maintain the integrity of the investigation.
Oh, man. This is why every law enforcement agency should have body cams. And, I keep saying, if those body cams ain't on, then it should be automatic guilty. Because the taxpayers are paying for them body cams, and I know they gotta be costing a lot of money. And those things should be on, not only to protect, the citizens.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But hey, to protect the word of the police officer too, just in case, they try embellishing something.
Well, Reggie, hopefully, and I truly believe most police officers probably don't embellish, but, I can see what you're saying. This protects both sides, because you want to have the facts, all the facts. And, this is clearly, according to them, according to this place, the video footage shows there were some potential violations. So Hankinson's was one of 3 officers who fired their guns at Taylor's apartment that night. And he subsequently fired and charged with wanton endangerment with some of his bullets that went through into an occupied apartment next to Taylor's. Now, we already established that. So, I just want to tell you again, that's wanting endangerment. So, the body cam shows something like that. That's a violation.
Yeah, man, I know it. And now they got that on video, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's pretty much what I'm saying. So, the Attorney General in Kentucky, Daniel Cameron, he declined to release the evidence in his investigation. He outlined his office findings after the grand jury announced its indictment, but didn't make public any supporting evidence.
But, should they be releasing some of that evidence, or what's going on with that?
Well, here's the thing. When you're doing an investigation and when you're probably going to be going to trial, I think, to me, common sense would say you don't want all the evidence out there because, I mean, come on, look at the news today. You don't want a whole bunch of different versions of the news out there, and people really don't get their facts together. Anyways, people were very upset.
Yo, man, they ought to be upset something like that happens. I'm surprised riots didn't break out.
Well, that's the thing. Riots did break out. Hundreds of people took to the streets in Louisville on that Saturday, and they ran to churches and other indoor spaces as curfew fell across the city. Now, this was like on that first night.
So you saying they had a curfew?
Well, yeah, of course. They were planning for the worst because after the George Floyd incident and since then, I mean, there's just been riots everywhere. Things burning, houses getting broken into, businesses getting broken into, and people stealing stuff out of the businesses. People had to board it up. I mean, this is an epidemic, and it's pretty bad because a lot of these people, their livelihoods. These are people who live in that city.
Yeah, that's
Their
true.
livelihoods are at stake. Where they depend on their business to put food on the table for their kids and everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know what this world is coming to. Sort of ridiculous.
So, the other thing is this.
What's the other thing? I really got to hear this. Go on.
There were U-Haul trucks, and this was caught on video. U-Haul trucks that were prepared beforehand that had signs and posters already painted up for the protesters. Now, there's some rumors, and I hate rumors.
I hate rumors too, man. That's like sick people gossip.
Because you never really know what's true.
You can say
But
that again.
Some say this was a group which was Antifa. And Antifa, I guess, according to the media and the word around, they're like an anarchist group. Yeah, they make trouble.
Some people say it's an ideology group.
Now, these are different from the peaceful protesters. The peaceful protesters are out there protesting like Martin Luther King did, for our civil rights way back in the day. Before Reggie and I were born, we're reaping the benefits of that, of what he and all our older generations did for peaceful protesting. But now the protesting seems to be like it's out of control.
Yo, man, you're right. It's out of control. Man, protesting day is like savage, man. People be looting and hooting and burning cars,
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to say after we did our podcast on a lot of the riots, I'm beginning to see something a little differently.
What are you seeing?
I don't think I like people burning up stuff and ruining people's businesses. That just ain't right, man. That's just... Man, that ain't even gangster. That's beyond gangster, man. That's savage stuff.
Yeah, you're right. So now here's what's going on. Since Breonna's death, there have been dozens of cities and towns across the United States that have been protesting. The rallies took place in Portland, Nashville, Chicago, New York City, Washington, D.C., Raleigh, Kansas City, Boston, and Baltimore. And there's other places,
Like what? Now, what are some of these other places?
Well, there were smaller demonstrations. They also cropped up in Worcester, Massachusetts, Greenfield, South Carolina,
Yeah.
Poughkeepsie, New York, Erin, Ohio, Daytona Beach, Florida, Bristol, Pennsylvania. Several dozen people held a candlelight vigil on the banks of the Delaware River.
I'm going to tell you, man, I have seen some candlelight vigils, man, in the city, but I'm going to have to say, I just got this image in my head, and that just must have been a beautiful, beautiful thing, to see all those candlelight vigils on the banks of the Delaware River, man. That's like angelic, man. That's, man, it's unfortunate something like this had to happen, Hakeem, but, it's very respectful that people did it. It sounds like they did it in a peaceful way.
Yes, they did, and that's really good. Now, Louisville saw one of the largest crowds in months. More than thousands of protesters marched from nearly an hour, chanting, this is what democracy looks like. And people were very upset. There's also signs, no peace, no justice, Black Lives Matter. But I mean, it just goes on. And there were posters against the police department. I'm not going to say what those were.
I'm going to have to admit, I saw some of them posters and they were pretty inflammatory. That sort of ain't right, but.
Because the bottom line is, in the end, we need the police department. We can't go around defunding the police department because if the police are all at the
protest rally and marches, man, just say it.
All at the places where people are protesting. No one's protecting the ghetto.
True that.
And I don't know about you, Reggie, but if somebody breaks in my house, I'm gonna need somebody to protect me.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but something's gotta be done. You and I both clash on this all the time, because like I said, Louisville, Kentucky, they want to reform the police, but like I said, that should have been done before. That should have been done months ago. I mean, George Floyd happened way back, months ago, and now they just, oh man, it's sickening, brother. It's just sickening.
Yeah, you're right. So when it came to the protesting, some of the groups returned to Jefferson Park Square in the heart of the ongoing protests, but they dispersed by the early morning, and they were running to safe houses. When the sirens were blaring and the police were showing up with the city, the state police, and the National Guards because they were driving by the area. But at least 4 people on the sidewalk were arrested, according to reporters at the scene. But it wasn't immediately clear what they were charged with.
Why not?
Because people couldn't just go right up there and see what was going on. Several people during that protest returned to the First Unitarian Church, which protesters have used over the past 2 nights as a sanctuary from police after the curfew. So, like I'm saying, this here went on and it's still going on. The group stayed on the church grounds for more than 2 hours, eating food, drinking water, and debating the next steps before some began to leave.
Yeah, because I guess they can't be staying there forever. I'm going to tell you, Hakeem, are these kids who don't have to work in the morning, or are these adults, or what's going on?
Well, Reggie, from what I understand, it's a diverse group. So you have young adults, you have older adults. So it ranges, but you really can't tell because everybody's wearing a mask nowadays because of the COVID.
Well, I guess in that case, it might be lucky for them.
Just before midnight, Louisville police said that on Twitter, marchers were starting to break windows, set fires, including cars, and destroy property.
Good Lord.
And the department said more arrests were made.
Are you, man? So now this happened the first night, right?
Yeah, that was the first night. So, we're talking about what happened within a week span. But yeah, we're going back to the first night. And so, yeah, the first night was terrible, terrible. And people were very upset because they didn't like how the police officers weren't being charged with the death of Breonna Taylor, which really doesn't make sense,
Yo, what about schools? I mean, were the schools off limits for the vandals and the protesters?
No, you see, several windows at the Spalding University and a nearby high school were broken, and a city map sign was shattered, according to the Louisville police live stream.
Man, you gotta be kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you.
Oh, man, disgusting.
A burned vehicle was sitting in the parking lot. Fireworks had ignited in a car, which engulfed in flames before the fire department arrived and extinguished the fire, according to the live stream. Now, there were other protesters, too. Now, I've named some places, but hundreds of people in Raleigh, North Carolina gathered downtown Saturday and headed towards the police.
Man, that's a lot of protesting.
Precincts as officers in riot gears stood outside the courthouse. Now, this was according to the local news reports and social media posts. And at one point, someone in a group of protesters threw fireworks towards the group of officers.
Say what?
Are you done?
Yeah, go on.
And it exploded in the air between the two groups. This was seen on a video. So, I mean, this is really dangerous. People, a lot of these protesters...
And it sure is a lot of them.
A lot of these protests are are getting very, very violent.
Apparently.
So, Reggie, what do you think about all this?
Yo, man, I think it's bad, man. I would really like to see, a lot of this stuff fixed. I mean, yeah, I understand that the president is supposed to run the country
Yeah.
and that the states should be under the mayor's control and the governors and the city selectmen.
Somebody's been doing their homework.
But did the president say anything in this stuff?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what the president says, but I do know what he said in the past. He said that if the states need the National Guards, all they have to do is ask. And this state did ask for the National Guard, so the National Guards were there, and they were helping to protect.
Well, that's good.
So this is very good.
Well, what did the family say? Did the family say anything?
Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer, on Friday attended a press conference at the downtown Louisville Park that had become a focus for protest and a makeshift memorial to Taylor, who was shot dead in her apartment after the police barged in and fired a hail of bullets during the Boston investigation. So Palmer's sister and Taylor's aunt read a statement written by Palmer. This is what it said. Know this. I am an angry black woman, Palmer's statement read. Angry because our black women keep dying at the hands of police officers. You robbed the world of a queen. Demonstrators in Louisville gathered on Friday for the third night of protest. A march stretched for about a block long, a downtown street, and it began hours before the 9 p.m. curfew was to start. Palmer and her family members walked at the head. It's very terrible what happened.
Sure is terrible. It's very disgusting and disturbing.
Breonna Taylor was 26. She was an emergency room tech.
Had a bright future.
She also worked, I believe, in 2 hospitals.
Sure did.
And she wanted to be a registered nurse. So that's a life that's taken that will never, ever, ever get back again. And it's too bad.
Damn shame.
Because she really had a whole life ahead of her. A whole life that was taken from her because of this unnecessary thing.
Yo, what I still don't get, Hakeem, it just burns me up.
What is it?
The fact that, you can get a no-knock warrant, search warrant, and just knock somebody's door down in the middle of the night. This is the ghetto. It's stupid to even think you're going to go into a house in the ghetto at night and people are going to be very peaceful. Listen, if somebody busted down your door in the daytime, you'd be very upset too. This was so unnecessary, man. Man, this is just so unnecessary. They definitely need some kind of reform. Ridiculous. Anyways, Hakeem, I think this might be a good time, for your words of wisdom.
You're right. Okay, we can do that. So now my words of wisdom. 2020 has been a terrible year. So many deaths has happened that have involved African Americans and the police. So many riots stemming from the social unrest have occurred in many states. So much distrust and hate is seen on both sides of the citizens and the law enforcement agencies. But is this something new? No. This has been around for decades and not much has changed. What are we people, we African Americans, supposed to do? We African Americans feel like the victims of a rigged system, a system that does not work for us but against us. We have tried everything that we have thought would work and it has failed. It seems that nothing has helped or come from it. I guess if we knew how to fix the problem with the police and the black community, it would have been fixed many, many, many years ago. If a child is upset at their parents and a child wants to take actions, they don't burn down their house. That only hurts a child in the long run. We, as African Americans, need to figure out what we can do to fix this in a more positive way. George Floyd is not the first to die involving the police. Breonna Taylor, I am sure, will not be the last. That is what the black community is feeling right now at this moment. That is what everyone is feeling. We want answers. We need answers, and we don't see anything at all. And we're screaming for help. It is a feeling that sickens us every single day. I guess all we can do is pray that something changes. Pray that God hears our plea for justice. And I pray that we as African Americans can find a way to make life better. It seems that we're alone, but I know that the world hears us. I know the world hears our cries. And soon, I pray and hope that there will be not another life taken. Remember that all black lives matter. But remember this most of all life is precious and all life is sacred.
Thank you, Hakeem. That was good. So now I guess we're going to come to our closing.
Reggie, how about you do the closing today?
Yeah, man, that'd be cool. All right.
Okay, go on and do it.
I want to thank you, the listeners, for joining us here on Pop City Culture, for spending time with us. We'll see you next time on Pop City Culture. Until next time, be kind and affectionate to one another. Remember who you are. Peace.
Peace out, everybody. See you next time here on Pop City Culture.
Yo, man, that ain't right. You said I could get the last word. I be doing it. Aw, man, you screwed me again, man. I can't believe it. I fell for it again. Anyways, bye, everybody.